another critical thing is that factory. There was an additional factory that was tacked down from Heme just before he lost his barracks, which could provide a big boost to his middle on the ground over Scan in the mid game.
Indeed, Scan's barracks is only just finishing up. An important thing is that Heme is still only got one guy on his natural gas. I think that's going to hurt him quite a bit since gas is the limiting resource in TVT. And Heme is actually going pretty dropship heavy. He's got 3 dropships already from that relatively quick starport. I like this positioning by Scan at his natural though. He's got 2 siege tanks and an engineering beta spot, so he's not going to get cliff dropped there. Heme doesn't seem to mind that too much. In fact, Heme is going for a 3rd base quite quickly here. I actually quite like this play.
Yeah, I feel like he's safe doing so. He knows he has that 3rd factory to work with. On top of that, all these turrets are an investment. I like the decision to go Wraith, because just having that Wraith threat out in the field and also that drop threat is forcing the turrets. So essentially, he's equalizing it economically. Just by having that threat, he's not having to invest the resources of a turret. Meantime, now that barracks is finished, we're seeing additional factories being planted for Scan. I assume we're going to see that momentarily, but you will see a big economic bleed with a lot of dropships to support. Wow, a lot of dropships to support. And am I seeing another tech switch to a second an additional barracks? Is there already a barracks out in the field currently for Heme, or am I just missing it?
No, I think he actually he's just rebuilding his original barracks. I don't think he actually ever rebuilt that. He just stayed on these 3 factories.
That actually might be a blunder, because this is that stage where he needed to build it, and even though he has a superior air force, he needs to rely on it really to keep Scan back in this mid game.
Yeah, and exactly to that point, Scan actually threw down 3 factories as soon as his barracks was finished, so he's up on 5 factories. The drop from Heme actually gets spotted by a random scouting SEV. Very nice anticipation by Scan, just leaving an SEV out. It looks like Heme's going to go in anyway. No, he's actually just going to set up a mini position right here. I do like this mass dropship play. It's really cool. I think partly because I was a big UMS player, and I used to play some World War I UMSs where drops were pretty good. But anyway, that's a tangent. I also want to make one more quick point. Mods, please stop banning Game from my stream chat. He is quite upset about that. And he's quite important to the ISL. So, as trolling as he may be, please do not ban him. Alright, back to the game.
Yeah, in the meantime, it looks like I think those dropships are going to be absolutely vital, particularly at 3 o'clock location. Essentially what it's going to come down to is Scan is going to be forced to build more Goliaths and be more Goliath heavy and have Goliaths essentially everywhere just to defend the territory that he has. Because those dropships when you have drop position, you can just siege tank bomb on top of siege tanks. In fact, upon that Scan, I would not be surprised to see a load up of a couple dropships pressing out. But currently, actually not really utilizing those dropships. Instead, wanting to take a defensive stance and just limit Scan to 3 bases.
And interestingly, Heme is not building more factories, instead going for a science facility. That seems quite quickly. Is he just going to go for like fast battle cruisers? That would be really cool to see, but I'm not sure if it's very advisable since the battle cruiser transition is quite slow and expensive. So you really want to be in a good position before you do that. Anyway, it looks like he scans, scan, moving out. And Scan is actually just going to attack this position. He feels he has a much superior force. He's going to siege up here. I think he does have a superior force. He is going to take out this mini position by Heme. It is actually going to crush through it. And that's actually going to put Heme in a bit of an awkward position. He doesn't have that much presence on the map anymore. He's also behind in the factory count. He's going to do a little bit of a counterattack at Scan's 3rd, but those 3 siege tanks should be able to stop it. Heme's still not adding on more factories. He's going to have some macro problems pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, and this is what confuses me here is Heme does not need to dedicate the ground forces that he's dedicating on these campaigns. He can rely on those dropships to be mobile, to be aggressive for him, and unfortunately, what he's doing here is he's just losing map position, map control. And on top of that, he is in fact teching up, and I think actually that Science Academy is just to get the higher level upgrades, to get the level 2 upgrades over for the siege tanks.
Good point.
But in the meantime, he's just falling apart in the mid-map. I mean, yes, he has that early 3rd, but without those additional factories, he's just getting run over with superior unit counts. And if he's not utilizing the one advantage he had, the dropships, how can he expect to win the game?
Indeed, and Scan only just now throwing down his starport, while Heme, realizing this, throws down 3 additional factories. He's also not upgrading. Okay, now he just started his +2 weapons, so there the science facility does come into play. Of course, +2 is extremely important. It allows sieged tanks to 2-hit other siege tanks rather than 3 hits that are needed before that upgrade finishes. There's actually one Wraith kind of being annoying here on the left side of the map. Is actually going to scout these vultures of Scan running around, but they will not find anything except another patrolling vulture. The SCP for Heme is actually going to this mineral only, which I don't think is as useful as a gas base, but I mean, of course, it will allow him to produce a ton of vultures.
This has been unfortunate because even though Heme had that economic lead, he was not able to utilize it because he did not have the infrastructure behind to utilize it. And as a result, he is now getting countered in what he was attempting to do earlier. Scan pushing forward, getting that contain. And you can see, just looking at the mini-map, how he's starting to get isolated away from that fourth base that he wants to take. And this is actually a very risky take. Looks like he has an SCV nearby. He's thinking about taking a quick fourth. But I don't think there's any way he can really hold that.
Indeed.
Did I get dropped again? Okay, no, okay.
Nope.
Just checking.
No, sorry, I was a little distracted because Game apparently is still being constantly banned from my chat. But anyway.
Shout out to Agora, by the way, while I'm thinking about it. Go ahead.
Alright, so we do have Scan setting up a position here, kind of splitting the map here, but splitting it in a way that is very favorable to him, taking all the top left bases as well, and a little bit of an engagement here in the middle of the map, just a little skirmish. Hemi gonna lose a few tanks, gonna lose his barracks once again. An engineering bay interestingly produced in the bottom right, kind of funky location for that. But if we actually look at the macro, Scan is, oh no, never mind, he got it down. Just now he was up to like something like 1200, 1100, but he has macroed that back down. He's throwing down a 6th factory right now and has a starport making dropships of his own. What is Hemi doing? Hemi staying on also 6 factories and continuing dropships off 1 starport. So pretty similar for both players, although Hemi's 4th base, the mineral only, is going down. Oh, never mind, Scan is also throwing his down just now as well.
Problem for Hemi is yes, he has that third base, but it's really not well saturated at all. He's only got a handful of SCVs there. If you compare both expansions, you can see much better SCV saturation in the north. Maybe he can even up with diving some vultures in here, a little bit of a skirmish here and there. But yeah, just not able to keep. Oh, it looks like he is going to be able to slow down that 12 o'clock base, taking out that SCV. So at least being annoying and getting something in here. But just looking at the flat supply counts, actually, never mind. I take about just about even. I think, and keep in mind that fourth, that actually shocks me, absolutely shocks me with that saturation. Okay, there we're seeing a bit of a press ahead, 150 versus 138, perhaps the supply cap that I missed here for Scan. But just looking at the baseline infrastructure, I just feel like Scan's got better map positioning, he's got better saturation overall, he's starting to close in the map, and aside from that vulture press from Hemi just doesn't have a lot rolling for him.
Indeed, and some vultures trying to sneak up the left side again will get intercepted. Scan staying on these 6 factories, letting his money get a little bit high right now, but once again, due to the map positioning, he is in a nice position, expanding once again to the 1130 base here at the top. Also is restarting, sent 2 more SCVs to restart that command center at his mineral only, so he will be going up on bases, more importantly going up on gas, the all-important resource in a TVT. Looks like someone scanned the mineral only on the bottom right, but there is nothing there. And I'm surprised Scan is not throwing down some more production facilities. His starport is actually unrallied. There's 3 idle dropships there, and looks like a mass SCV transfer going out right now.
Looks like we're having a large drop being staged from Hemi, which is extremely risky because he doesn't. I mean, he has what 3 siege tanks and 3 Goliaths trying to defend that entire bottom left-hand base. If Scan just unsieged and moved forward and just attacked that left-hand base, there's nothing that Hemi would be able to do to stop it. But in the meantime, that drop moving forward looks like it's going to try to crush that contain and might have a lot of success doing so.
Oh man, but he's taking a lot of fire. Oh god!
Like, didn't even unload there. Oh, that was disastrous.
Yeah, I think he actually didn't even realize how much stuff Scan had right there. Just flying straight into it, losing 3 dropships full of units. A huge blow to Hemi. If we look at the food counts, Scan now at 185, Hemi only at 149. Almost 40 food ahead for Scan. Scan's probably going to get maxed pretty soon off his next production round. His starport is still unrallied, but he's constantly making dropships there. I don't know like where he thinks those dropships are going. Maybe he's just going to wait for a lot and go for a giant mass drop. A vulture from Hemi does manage to sneak up the left side and spot this command center. It's already finished though, so he won't be able to do too much. A few units now going in for a Scan. Scan actually lifts that. Could just send a few vultures or something of his own. But, yep, looks like the mining will be delayed there a little bit. A covert ops for Hemi! Covert ops.
Covert ops. Alright, looks like we're going to see some ghost action, maybe even some nukes down the line. Yeah, wow. This is kind of an interesting switch, and it's very risky to try to turn this around, but that he's going to need something big like that to get back in this match. He's completely locked out of the map. I still have no idea how he's holding that 9 o'clock. Essentially, it's just by the grace of Scan, moving up with a sizable drop, though, along the 9 o'clock position.
And it looks like he's actually just trying to secure this base. Interestingly, both players planted a mine kind of right next to each other to block a CC from going down there. And what was I just going to say? Oh, Scan finally seeing all these dropships. I think that was definitely a mistake because he was queuing up a ton of drops there. I think he kept forgetting that he made them and just thought he assumed he didn't make them originally. But yeah, he now has 6 dropships ready to go wherever he wants. Looks like he's loading up right now. Where will he go? There's not many units to defend. There could actually just be a giant drop in the main right now, and I'm not sure how Heme would deal with that. There's only like 1 turret in between Scan and just completely destroying all of these factories of Heme, which would be disastrous. I heard some siege tank shots going off. But I don't see an engagement.
Is at the 9 o'clock location, just killing 2 SCVs that were wandering in there. Drop actually moving into that bottom right-hand base. I'm not sure what Heme's doing at that 9 o'clock location. You can't really afford to defend it. Vulture's trying to come in, provide some support. There are some mines down, but I don't think the mines are going to cut it. Siege tanks, oh my goodness. They're right on top of that supply, and crushing this supply is really going to hurt Heme. I don't know that he's going to be able to rebuild it rapidly, and wow, I don't even know that he's going to be able to evict these troops here.
And meanwhile, Scan is pushing towards that left side base. All of Heme's units and drops are over there. He's not even moving them. I really think he needs to do something with those units because he's losing the back of his main base right now. He's sieging up a little bit further back in a better defensive position, but Scan could push up, kill all of his depots, even range some of these factories. So Heme looks to be in quite a bad position right now. Scan also, apparently mining from that top gas with like 5 SEVs, really wants the gas. And I think, well, dropships moving out once again, don't have anything in them quite yet. Do we see a ghost anywhere on the field? Is there even a barracks somewhere? I don't even see one.
This is really unfortunate for Heme. Right now, this is one of those situations where Scan can start tossing troops at him because he can rebuild and Heme cannot. And it looks like he is going to stage forward, going to be able to continue to work down the supply. 152 supply locked, definitely in the red. More troops, dropships moving in. It looks like they are empty, so they might try to actually just evacuate this attack force now that they've done some damage and maybe even go in for a drop on the siege tank line. There is only a single turret, and that single turret is not going to cut it against all of those troops in position. And it's actually funny, those tanks and Goliath sieged to the 9 o'clock. I almost feel like that's a counter-contain. He's like, go ahead and take that base. I'm just going to make sure that you can't get out and defend. I can take that anytime I want later down the line, and you're not going to be able to transfer SCVs there, so really no point in where you're going to build your SCVs. He's got 1 SCV there, no supply to really flood in there, so it's almost a null expansion.
And exactly as you said, it looks like Scam will be loading up and leaving with all of the units of that drop except for just a couple of tanks. Interestingly, I think at that 9 o'clock also, Scan could actually get in range of that gas and deny that. And the minerals by themselves won't actually be that helpful to Heme. Scan is actually right now floating at almost 6k, 2k, because he is maxed, and so he's just getting a bunch of bases. There are actually 4 ghosts, well no, 2 ghosts produced, a few more queued up in barracks at Heme's third, but he does not have a nuclear silo right now, so we won't be seeing any of that good jazz anytime soon.
Perhaps just going to rely on Cloak and try to be annoying in the early game. It does take a while to get the upgrades to have those ghosts be super effective. But in that, I say that kind of half-heartedly, super effective ghosts. It almost feels like a contradiction in terms. Anyway, it looks like the dropship's going to move out to the 9 o'clock. All those siege tanks, just dropping a Goliath at a time and letting the siege tanks do splash damage to themselves could be very effective to take that drop out at the 9 o'clock. But Scan with a ton of bases to his name. Heme still desperately in the red, sticking at 184. It looks like he is trying to rebuild that supply. Realizes that drop might be coming momentarily, and so he is getting some turrets built to that 9 o'clock. But if this attack force regathers, I think that bottom left with only the 3 siege tanks and 2 turret defense is not going to hold. And I think that's really the critical, basically everything the bottom left. Essentially the way Heme is playing is he's just saying, okay, I'm going to ignore defensive everywhere and pray that Scan doesn't attack me.
Yeah,